Hi everyone. We are working today sort of in reverse. You've been shading, you just finished up your facial features shading, and you've been using a regular drawing pencil to make darker values, to make your artwork look a little neater, right? I'm gonna adjust my camera here. So today you're going to be working in reverse of that. We're gonna use black paper and a white colored pencil. The first part of the project, there's three parts to this project. You're gonna have a value scale. You're going to shade a sphere just to kind of get the hang of it and to practice your values on forms, which is always good practice. And then the third part, which we will do on Monday, is going to be, we're gonna do a soft serve ice cream on black paper and make it look real based on the values that we're doing. So the first thing we're going to do is a value scale, and I would just take a piece, you've got that long piece of black paper. You're going to need two little sheets out of it that will fit into your sketchbook after you're done, one for the sphere and one for the ice cream next week. And then you need a little scrap like this, a little rectangle, to do a value scale. Now, some people kind of discount the use of a value scale, but it's actually really important for a couple of reasons. One, you can use it to match the values on your drawing. Like, you're going to have a photograph of that sphere, and if you are looking at it, you can kind of match up, you know, how light is something right there, how hard do I need to press. You can compare it to your value scale and kind of map out your values ahead of time, if that makes sense. But a value scale is super important whether you're working on black and white paper, black with white colored pencil, or you're doing regular. It's important to kind of match up the values. You probably have a value scale in your supplies. Those are not all even, but that's okay. You probably have a value scale in your supplies that you can match this against. So you can see if you've got the correct number of values and if they are distinct enough. If you can kind of look at them and only see, you know, one value, one lightness or darkness of it, you need to go darker or lighter. Now, here's the weird part about working in reverse on this black paper, is that the black is your darkest value. It's already there, just about, right? So you're gonna leave that one alone. And then I would probably work the next one and go as light as you possibly can, because you may have to come back, and it's always easier, you know, to darken it and then to lighten it. Colored pencil is really difficult to erase. It's really waxy. So when you go to erase it, it just kind of smears. It doesn't actually, you know, it's not going to be a clean, smooth transition. So by the time we get all the way down to here, we should almost be at solid white. And it will help you if your pencil is nice and sharp to do this. So have your little sharpener ready. They make a special sharpener just for colored pencils so that you can get a really sharp point. But I don't have one of those, but it would be kind of cool. Some people use like a razor knife, like a box cutter knife, to shave away this wood part of a colored pencil, because they don't want to put it in a regular pencil sharpener because it goes, you know, sharpens it way down and kind of wastes your colored pencil. But I am not good with a razor knife, so I don't ever try and do that. So the way that you're controlling this value is just the pressure that you're putting on your pencil, which is always a good practice, because if you can get those value changes just by pressing harder on your pencil, that is a good skill to have. Now you want this to be nice and neat and clean, so I'm going to go back and do, you know, like in an opposite direction, just so it doesn't look scratchy and it looks finished. And take some time on that. And I would say, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is probably a good number. You could probably, you know, you could probably squeeze 7 out of it. If you're just doing 3, that's not going to help you much for practice or for noticing things. So on this, it's also about opaqueness, right? For the white, it's how much you're covering to get those different values. And working in reverse like this is a good practice just in drawing because you're so used to darkening things that are the darkest value, and in this, that's already done for you. So you're really concentrating on the lightest value because that's what you have to press the hardest on. So when I get to this one, this is just full on, but I still want it to be nice and neat. So I am going to change directions. You could even go in little circles, which is what I'm going to do when I go to shade my sphere in. A sphere in. I'm going to go in little tiny circles just to be kind of subtle with the change. Alright, so this one is pretty close to this one, so I'm not super happy with that, and it may be that I need to lighten this one up a little bit to get that change. So I'm going to go back over it, and then I'm going to take my eraser, even though I'm going to be sad that I do, because it just kind of, it almost like it just sort of gathers up. It doesn't really erase it. It is going to take away some of this brightness, but if this was a drawing, you wouldn't want all that junk up on your paper. Alright, so I'm decently happy with this. And that's one part of your project, to show that you can make a reverse value scale. Okay? So I need to go back over this one now. Make sure you're not just going in one direction. Make sure that you're filling it. And make sure that it's nice and neat. Like sometimes I see value scales and they just look like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure who drew that. Okay, so then I'm going to resharpen my pencil, and we're going to talk about how you're going to do this sphere. And you will have a reference photo. I uploaded some reference photos onto CTLS. You can pull one of those out. You can put it up on your screen. If you want to print it out, you can. But you're going to have it right in front of you. And I thought I printed one out for me, but clearly I didn't. So I'll have to pull one up for myself and do all the shading on this. I'll do that in the time lapse. But I just want to tell you a couple of things about this. When you are doing this, typically this part down here is the darkest, right? It's in the shadow, that cast shadow, and then this part is going to be a cast shadow. So when you are shading up here, this is going to be your lightest area, if we're assuming that the sun is up here or the light source is up here coming down. So you can draw a circle in. You can draw it with a pencil. You can draw it with your colored pencil. You can trace a circle if you feel more comfortable with that. It's up to you. Don't make it really, don't do a bold circle with your colored pencil, because part of the objective of this little practice is that you're not going to have any outline, that you're not going to see any outline, which means we're going to shade the space around the sphere as well, and we're going to give it a little background with a shadow, and then we're going to try and make it so that there's no part of the circle left showing. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. When you are doing this, don't start out as dark as you can. Start off really slow and really light, because remember, you can darken it, but it is difficult, just like we saw where I messed up in the value scale. It is difficult to lighten it. So start off pretty light, and then when you're looking at your reference photo, and I really need to have my reference photo in front of me before I continue on with this, so I'm going to go get it. I'm going to have to go print one out. But I'm going to go super slow. I think the biggest problem people make, a couple of problems, they do this motion, this kind of C-shape motion, and you can get some value changes like that, but it's not going to be as nice or as neat or as smooth. So I would hesitate to do that. The second thing, I wouldn't forget, like I'm down here like, oh, you're going to shade this part in. You're not going to shade this part in really dark. This is already dark. So you've got to concentrate on the light values this whole time. And so that's the part that gets a little bit difficult. That's the part that you have to really concentrate on and practice and focus on. So when you're using colored pencils, if you do little circular marks, little just teeny tiny little circles, That's probably the most effective way to lay down some of that color and then build up the layers on top of it. All right, and then I'll show you in the time lapse how we're gonna do this part out here. But I've really gotta go get my reference photo before we do that. So we will stop this video now. I'm gonna go grab my photo and then we will do the time lapse and you can kind of see how it's all gonna come together. All right.